Council.
From our family, what's up to yours? Today's R&B and old school.
KLEK 102.5 FM.
Good Monday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 forecast on this Labor Day. It'll be partly sunny, small chance of a shower or thunderstorm near 90, light southeast winds. Partly cloudy tonight, about 70 to 75. And mostly sunny Tuesday, the high near 90. A weather system coming in from the west on Wednesday and Wednesday night with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Partly sunny Wednesday, 85 to 92. Jonesboro, that's your KLEK 102.5 FM weather.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. 2 Reuters journalists have been sentenced to 7 years in prison in Myanmar. The National Museum of Brazil in Rio de Janeiro has been gutted by a huge fire. The United Nations says 1 out of every 14 migrants leaving Libya and making the journey across the Mediterranean is dying. And the South Indian state of Kerala, which last month suffered its worst floods in a century, is experiencing a surge in communicable diseases.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Monday. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. I am being joined by Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch. And before we get into it, and of course, happy Labor Day to each and every one of you. Dr. Branch is here today because she is bringing something that is very exciting to the area. She is the co-editor of Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. It is also edited by Dr. Gary T. Edwards, and they're going to have a reception tomorrow in which people can come meet them and get copies of the book and get copies of the book signed. So we're going to just talk about Dr. Branch and her work with this book and how it's going to impact the community. So how are you doing today, Dr. Branch?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. Tell us how this book came about.
Well, some years ago, probably in about, 2008, 2009, someone approached me about doing the Arkansas Women book. This book is actually part of the Southern Women, Their Lives and Times series at the University of Georgia Press. And I believe Arkansas is the 19th or the 20th book in the series. So Tennessee, South Carolina, all the southern states have a book. And I'd actually written an article for the South Carolina and the Tennessee book, actually the first volume of the Tennessee Women book. And so those authors came to me and said, we really think it would be a good idea to do one on Arkansas, and we think you should work with this other person to do it. And over time, that co-editor, went away, and I was left to be the lead editor on this project, which is not at all what I wanted or expected to do, but it turned out well, I think.
Well, I think it goes in line with your overall research. I've known you for around 4 years now, and during that time, I know that you have done a lot of research on women in general. In fact, even when we do the Black History Moments, which you can check out every day here on KLEK, that a lot of those moments focuses on women. So I think that, as the old saying goes, 2 peas in a pod.
Sure. Yeah, I was very interested in it. What I have to say about that, though, is initially when I became the lead editor, I was terrified because I just wasn't sure if I could do it. But then, of course, fear is the very thing that motivates me. I figured, well, what I don't know, I'll learn. And I also knew that I had good resources in the editors of the Tennessee Women and the South Carolina Women book, and I relied on them quite a bit as we were going through the process. And then a few years after I'd been working with this, I invited Dr. Gary T. Edwards to help out because I needed his expertise and his skill set. This is a very large project for one to tackle on their own.
Okay, and what did Dr. Edwards, how did he help you out with this project?
Well, we both specialize in different areas. His area is more 19th, early 20th century history. Mine is more 20th century Southern women's history. And so we divided up the essays. There are 15 essays in the book, and we divided them up really according to our specific areas. And so he edited half of them, I edited half of them, and well, that's a whole other story I have to tell you about. But we just sort of shared the labor and had many conversations, both in person and via email, about this book over the years.
Alrighty. Speaking with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch. Dr. Branch, I forgot to mention, is the James and Wanda Lee Vaughn Endowed Professor of History at Arkansas State University. And we may talk a little bit more about that a little later on in the program. Okay. She is, once again, the co-editor of Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times, also edited by Dr. Gary T. Edwards. So let's talk a little bit more before we go into that. Let's go ahead and get into the Facebook shout out. Shout out to S.L. Robinson and our very own Quabila Jones. Quabila says, "Good morning, everyone." And S.L. Robinson says, "Good morning. She came through with that necklace." Well, Dr. Branch is always known to have a nice flair and style and fashion about her.
Thank you.
Quabila says, "Why is it important to get the story out of the many women featured in this book?"
Oh, great question, and thank you for that. It's important because most of them are relatively unknown. So we do include some women who just have to be in the collection. So we're talking about people like Daisy Bates, certainly Hattie Caraway, Adolphine Fletcher Terry. So there are some women in there people will almost immediately recognize, but the rest of them and the rest of the stories are things that most people know nothing about. So it's important because if we didn't do this, these stories would be lost.
Okay, and that is very important because I know in private conversations you and I have, just talked about all of the hidden gems of history, especially throughout the state of Arkansas, that people don't know about, and you've even unearthed some stories about my own hometown of Helena, West Helena, and even stories of things that are going on in Jonesboro. And of course, as we all know, when you attend school, you don't often get these stories in your traditional public schools or even in college.
Yeah, no, you really don't. But I think the bigger point for me is this is the work that historians do. I'm not interested in telling the stories people already know. I'm interested in unearthing new stories and even adding complexity and nuance to the stories we think we know, because we don't know them typically as well as we think we do.
And when you think about it, I think it's more important than ever because now that we are in the information age, there is access to so many more resources in which we're now discovering things that we didn't know. Basically, we, especially for those who came up before the information age, there were people who were exposed to, as you said, one version of history, and that was all you got. But now you get to go a little bit deeper and get a chance to get exposed more to your background.
Absolutely.
And Quabila says, "Since the release of this book, have you heard of anyone spearheading their own research to dig deeper into those hidden gems in their own community?"
No, but I have certainly encouraged I haven't heard about it. That is not to say that people aren't doing it, but I encourage people to do it. Even when I teach my classes, one of the things that I tell my students is look at the history in your own backyard. There's a lot of it there. And as you just said, Legansy, even unearthing things in your hometown that you didn't know about, there's a lot there. And you just have to dig for it. And trust me, when you find the nugget, it's a big deal. It's a big deal for me anyway, but I would tell anybody, start digging, start asking questions, start looking at these databases, because they warehouse an awful lot of information. And you were saying something about the digital age earlier. There are things that have been digitized that we would not have been able to access if it wasn't for that.
And what are the names of some of these resources in which people can check out?
Well, one source that I've used quite a bit that's available to everybody is HathiTrust.org, and it's HATHI.org. And it has all these wonderful documents that I used to have to order from Interlibrary Loan at Arkansas State. Now they're digitized right there, and so you put in your search parameters, and it's just amazing what will come up. So just to give you an example, I was doing some research on a piece that I'm working on the Arkansas Association of Colored Women's Clubs, and I found a woman from Forest City, Arkansas, who was a member of this organization, who was on the House Un-American Activities list, essentially for being a communist. And I found this in an official government document from the 1950s, and I found that on HothyTrust.org. So when I was looking around in that database, I didn't expect to come across that. And so those are the kinds of wonderful things that can happen when you're doing this kind of research.
And of course, obviously, being involved with communism, that's not something that you're going to pick up and learn. Appreciate you, Shay, for all of those feedback little emojis on the Facebook Live feed. We are speaking with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, Professor of History of Arkansas State University, co-editor of Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. Kubila asked, during the process of editing this book, did you have any self-revelations? What overall effect did this project have on you?
I'm very glad I stayed the course, because it was a long process and often a frustrating process, because working with different authors is sometimes like herding cats. But I learned a lot from everything everybody wrote, and I think we've done a good thing here, Gary and I have, because again, we stayed the course. These stories are out there now, and people from all over Arkansas can see themselves in these stories. And one of the things that I want to point out about this book is that it's all kinds of women: black women, white women, poor women, women who were educators, medical professionals, civil rights activists, so on and so forth. So there's something in here for everybody.
All right. And looking at the book itself, there is a lady on the cover of the book. Let's talk about the lady on the cover of the book.
Okay, this is Dr. Edith Irby Jones, and she's an African-American physician, and I believe she was among one of the first African-Americans to graduate from the University of Arkansas Medical School.
Okay.
And yes, she's still alive, and I believe she's in her 90s now. But it's interesting because she's one of these individuals who came from a rural Arkansas background, and she really would not have been exposed to an African-American physician, but somehow she learned that this was what she wanted to do, particularly after one of her siblings died from something that could have been easily treated had they had access to a doctor. And she's also connected to Daisy Bates, because when she wanted to go to school, she got some financial support from her.
Okay. And what was her reaction to being included in this book?
I have to say honestly that we have not talked to her about it. But my colleague, Dr. Yolanda Edisano, she's a professor at Alcorn State University down in Mississippi, and she did a very good job with the article, again, really digging into the complexities and nuances of this black woman's life.
Has anyone featured in the book that is still alive today been contacted and got offered feedback about the book?
Well, I know in at least one case, someone who's a relative of one of the women in the book contacted them and said they were very grateful that this individual's story had been told.
All right, well, that's certainly great. We are talking once again with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, co-editor of Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. Got a Facebook shout out to Sandra L. Combs. Appreciate you for checking in on our Facebook Live feed. Now, let's go ahead and get into the event tomorrow. There's going to be a reception in which you and Dr. Edwards will be there. I believe y'all are going to give some remarks on the book and just kind of let the listeners know the when, where, and what's going on.
Okay, so the book talk and signing will be tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 5 on the third floor of the ASU library. And the bookstore, the campus bookstore, will have books available for sale. We'll talk about the process of the book. And I've even sent an invitation out to the authors in the book, so hopefully some of them will be in the audience as well. For example, I know Michael Dugan, who lives right here in Jonesboro and who's a retired ASU professor. I know he plans to be there, so it'd be really good if you could be introduced to some of those folks. So I do hope you all will come. This is open to the community, so if you're listening to me right now, you come, tell somebody else, have them come as well, and come and learn a little bit more about the process of writing an edited collection.
And that's something I want to get into, but first let me go ahead and get back to the live feed. Quabila says, do you foresee many more series stemming from this project? Can you see any projects released that are more specific to a city or county in Arkansas?
I can see all kinds of possibilities with this. For example, I have written at least 3 essays on women who should have been in this book. but by the time I started working on them, the book had already gone to press. So all of that to say that there should be a second volume. There should most definitely be a second volume.
Alrighty. Now let's go ahead and talk about the process of how the book came together. You are the co-editor. Now, what does the editor actually do?
Well, to start, what we did was first we have to send a call out for authors who want to write on Arkansas women. So we have to first get those folks organized, have them submit drafts. We have to review the drafts, right? Then we have to send them to readers who are chosen by the University of Georgia Press who published the book. Then we get them back. We have to deal with all of those things. So we were constantly reading these essays, responding to readers, encouraging the authors to respond to readers. Like I said, it was a very long and protracted process.
And as the editor, do you get to select which stories go into the book?
Yes and no. Ultimately, it comes down to the press, but we do have considerable influence because they're in Georgia and we're in Arkansas.
So what criteria were you looking for when selecting which ones would make the cut?
Well, we wanted really good stories. We wanted people who were solid writers, who had done thorough research, who were open to the possibility of having to do additional research if the readers called for it. And we also wanted to make sure the books fit in, the article fit in a way that it covered as many stories as possible. And clearly we couldn't get them all in there, but we wanted to get as many stories and as many diverse stories as we possibly could.
And could you foresee that this book become like a textbook in the future?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even in some of my future courses, I will probably not assign the entire book, or maybe I will, I don't know, but I can certainly see scholars using selections from this book. So like, for example, if someone wanted to do something on the Civil War in Arkansas, there are a couple of chapters in here that would fit very well into that. If someone wanted to talk about indigenous women in Arkansas, the first chapter by Sonia Tuji, who's a professor at the University of Central Arkansas, would be a perfect fit for that. So I completely see this book doing that.
All right. We are once again speaking with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, Professor of History at Arkansas State University and co-editor of Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. And if you have a question for Dr. Branch, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. Or you can leave your questions and your comments on our Facebook Live feed as we are tuned in on this Labor Day. And once again, happy Labor Day to each and every one of you that are listening and tuning in on our live feed. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. All right, so looking once again at the book, the back cover says, following in the tradition of the Southern Women series, Arkansas Women highlights prominent Arkansas women, explores women's experiences across time and space from the state's earliest frontier years to the late 20th century. In doing so, this collection of 15 biological essays productively complicates Arkansas history by providing a multidimensional focus on women with a particular appreciation for how gendered issues influence the historical movement in which they live. And there's just a little description of what you can expect in this book. Going back into the live feed, Quabila says, is there a women's studies course at A-State? Have any of the professors used some of the stories in their courses this semester?
There are women's studies courses. In fact, there's a women and gender studies minor at Arkansas State University. And I don't think they're using the book yet because it's too new. It only came out in June. Came out on June 1st, 2018. So I think going forward, we may see more of that.
I think definitely will, because one thing that I definitely get a lot of positive feedback is everybody appreciates the depth of your research and the attention that you give to the things that you researched about. You definitely have been.
I'm a big old nerd.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, Bill Gates said, "Be nice to a nerd. You may one day work for one." So. But your contributions to the history of this area have definitely been appreciated. I get feedback all the time everywhere I go when I talk about KLEK and especially the Black History moments. Kubia says, can you give some advice on collecting and writing stories of women today so that we don't lose our rich history?
Absolutely. Start talking to people in your communities, because here's the thing about a lot of this history. A lot of it is not going to be found in the archives, particularly when you're talking about women from marginalized groups. My experience, for example, in writing about rural black women in Arkansas is that you have to go where they are. You have to develop a rapport with them, develop a relationship with them, because number one, oftentimes they're really going to downplay what they've done, even though what they've done is incredibly important. And number two, their records are often not going to be in traditional archives. A lot of times they're in their house.
Amen.
Right? They're in their house. I just recently published an article in the International Journal of Africana Studies on Annie Zachary Pike, who's from Marble, Arkansas, and who in 1972 ran for the Arkansas State Senate as a Republican. Now, that's not commonly known because most of that information is in her house.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. We're going to talk about your efforts as a researcher and talk about how you have to travel and get these stories. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned in. S.L. Robertson says, amen, Lagenzi. We are thankful for her.
And we are thankful for you.
And we're thankful for each and every one of you that supports KLK 102.5 FM. We could not do this without you. We're going to get ready to go into a break, but when we come back, we'll have more with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch talking about Arkansas women, their lives and times. Don't go anywhere. This is KLK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Do you try to make your dreams your kids' dreams? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. All too often, moms and dads want their kids to pursue the same dreams they once had. The dad, who is captain of the football team, wants more than anything for his son to be the star of the team. The mom, who is a concert pianist, now drags her daughter to piano lessons every week and hopes that she'll be in the spotlight. Instead of making your goals their goals, it's important to let your kids dream their own dreams. Here are 4 ways not to make your dreams their dreams. First, don't assume. Don't assume that just because you like to do something, like ski competitively, that your child will too. Second, ask. Ask your child what they would like to do, what sport or activity. Remember, your family first.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Family Minute is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
Are you a young woman between the ages of 18 and 29 with the desire to further your education and serve your community? If so, then you may have what it takes to become Miss KLEK. KLEK 102.5 FM will be hosting its very first Miss KLEK scholarship pageant on February 16, 2019. The theme will be Women of Empowerment. The grand prize winner will receive $1,000 toward her education at any 4-year university, community college, or trade school in the Northeast Arkansas area. Contestants must be enrolled in school for 2019 in order to be eligible to participate in competition. If you think you have what it takes to be Miss KLEK, then fill out the registration form online at klekfm.org or stop by 1411 Franklin Street here in Jonesboro to pick up an application. An unrefundable $25 application fee must be returned with the application no later than September 21st, 2018. For more information about the Miss KLEK Scholarship Pageant, visit klekfm.org or the official Miss KLEK Scholarship Pageant page by searching at Miss KLEK on Facebook. If you are a woman ready to empower and impact the community you live in, sign up to become the first ever Miss KLEK.
The Black Professionals Network of Jonesboro was incorporated January 2013 with the mission of creating networking opportunities and to create community presence in the Jonesboro area. BPN is a diverse group of professionals established to make Jonesboro an ideal place for people of color and operates under the 4 pillars of Live, Learn, Lead, and Link. BPN meets the third Thursday of every month. More info, Black Professionals Network on Facebook and bpnjonesboro.org.
The McDaniel Law Firm, 400 South Main Street in Jonesboro, is a firm believer in justice and equality for the minority community. The McDaniel Law Firm has fought for our rights for over 44 years. The McDaniel Law Firm offers legal help for wrongful death as well as trucking and automobile accidents. Bobby and Brett McDaniel are available for a free consultation at 870-336-4747 or at www.mcdaniellawyers.com.
The Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was established on June 28, 1997 by 13 dynamic women who accepted the challenge and honor of chartering the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter. Today, the chapter continues to impact the Jonesboro community by sponsoring programs such as the Sonia D. Williams Scholarship Breakfast, Back to School Bash, Disaster Preparedness, Delta Academy, Empower African Girls, and Autism Awareness. Our focus correlates with the national theme, uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. Our chapter supports Delta's 5-point programmatic thrusts: economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. More information about the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is available at www.jonesboroalumnidst.org or via email jonesboroalumni@live.com.
Family, what's up to yours? Today's R&B and old school.
KLEK 102.5 FM.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, who is the James and Wanda Lee Vaughn Endowed Professor of History. That's a long one there.
That's a long one.
At Arkansas State University, she is also the co-editor of Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times, which is also edited by Dr. Gary T. Edwards. And we've just been talking about the book and some of her research efforts. Go ahead and get back into our Facebook Live.
Before you do that, can I say hi to my mom?
Sure. In fact, I was about to actually read your comment on the live feed where you said, "My mom is watching from Charleston, South Carolina." And let's see.
Hi, Mom. Can you see me? I'm waving at you.
All right, and let's see. Oh man, we got a bunch of comments. I'm gonna skip Quabila's question. I'm gonna read the comments, then we'll get to Quabila's question.
Okay.
Clara Hodges says, "Good morning from Carolina, Dr. Jones." And you reply, "Good morning, Miss Clara."
Yep, Miss Clara. I know her from way back when I was a student at the College of Charleston in South Carolina.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. She also says, "Doing A," and Marcia Smith the Pious waves her hand, and you wave back. And Clara Hodges once again says, "Good morning, Mom." And Quabila asks, "I just want to know who's writing the Dr. Cherisse legacy books. You have made so many valuable contributions that they don't need to go unrecognized and unrecorded." So I guess somebody in a future, maybe Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times, Volume 10, somebody will have your story up in there. Or maybe you'll be in the South Carolina Women. Maybe you'll be in both.
Why couldn't I be in both? No one is doing that right now. Right now, my interest is in writing other people's stories. And hi, Kelly. Dr. Kelly Houston Jones is my colleague at Arkansas Tech University, and she has a chapter in this book as well.
Alrighty. And she says, "Good morning, excellent work." Before we went to break, we were actually going to get into how you actually go about getting your research. You mentioned, especially with some of the elderly people who have a wealth of stories that, they're not going to just tell their stories or put it in a repository or even write them down. So you have to actually go out and get them. And part of your endowment allows you to travel. So talk about what it's like to actually go to a small town to visit with someone in their home and to get this information.
Well, my best example is with Mrs. Annie Zachary Pike, and I learned about her through some other work I was doing, and I learned that, oh, she's still down in Marble, Arkansas. And so I knew some people from Helena, like Dr. Lily Fears, who knows who she is, and she basically acted as an intermediary for me to get in touch with Miss Annie. And the first couple of times I called her, she hung up on me. I understand that. She doesn't know who I am. And then once I'd been vetted, I suppose, I went down there to her house. And this was about 2 years ago now, in 2016. And it was like we'd always known each other. But you have to establish those relationships first.
Now, you mentioned that she had to vet you. How did that work? Did she call Dr. Fears and say, hey, is Dr. Branch good, or who is this woman, or what?
I think so. I think it's a combination of that. It's a combination of them asking people they know at Arkansas State University and just finding out that, okay, she's legit, all right? And so after that, I called, she answered, we talked, and I made arrangements to go down to Marble, Arkansas. And the first time I went down there, we greeted each other like long lost relatives, and developed a really wonderful relationship from all of that. So I've been down there quite a few times. I was down there when she celebrated her 87th birthday back in May. And when the article came out about her, I made sure I got another copy of the journal, and I immediately sent it to Marble, Arkansas.
And do you think, when establishing that rapport with these people, do you think that there is some apprehension because of maybe past experiences with researchers trying to contact them?
Absolutely. And I mean, and it was important for me to make it clear that I want to tell your story. I'm not profiting from it. You know, historians don't make tons of money off of what they publish. We do it because the research is important to us. So I wanted it to be clear that this was an important story, that I know you've done important things and the world needs to know about it. And when you start digging into what these people have done and what people like Miss Annie have done, it's astounding. It's astounding, and I'm still shocked that no one has written this story before now.
And I think it would excuse me, also help that in the case of women, with you being a woman, and even in a case where it might be an older African American woman, I think there may be a little bit more sense of comfort knowing that this is one of our stories being told by one of our people.
Well, I think that's important as well. And there are other things that matter. You know, we know some of the same people. We discovered that we know some of the same people. It helps that, you know, I'm a black woman from the South, so there are certain unspoken rules that I get. Like, I would never, ever call Miss Annie by her first name. So there are things that come from my background that allowed me to immediately relate to Miss Annie.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, talking about the book Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. If you want to give a call to Dr. Branch, you can give us the number is 870-277-1080. Again, that phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can leave your comments on our Facebook live feed. And Clara Hodges says, thank you for the CFC shout out.
Call to Charleston.
And Bernita Nisi Jones Anderson says hello.
That's my cousin.
And Brother Cobb says good morning, Leganzi and Dr. Branch. And good morning to you, Brother Cobbs, and each and every one of you that are checking in on our live feed. And shout out to S.L. Robertson giving the love across the screen. Yeah. Okay, so talking a bit more about your research. As mentioned, you are the James and Wanda Lee Vaughn Endowed Professor of History. Explain, what does that mean, and what benefits that you get from that designation?
Well, it's a very prestigious designation, and what that means is I'm able to do the kind of research that I've been doing all along without having to beg for the funds to do it anymore. And so I've been able to travel quite a bit to give talks on my research, to attend conferences, to do research if I need to, although, as I said earlier, so many things have been digitized that I don't have to travel to do research nearly as much as I would have had to even 5 years ago. And I am the first of 3 Vaughn Endowed professors. The other 2 are Dr. John Hall and Dr. Argelia Lawrence at Arkansas State University. So we were deeply honored to be chosen for this designation. And the Vaughns were very dedicated to Arkansas State University and to education in Arkansas and in Arkansas history. And in one form or another, we all do this kind of work. I do history. Arhelia is a scientist. Dr. John Hall is a psychologist, and so all of our work in some way relates to something that was important to James and Wanda Lee Vaughn. But I was deeply honored and shocked when I learned that I was to be one of the endowed professors.
And how were you chosen for this endowment?
Based on research, community involvement, all the things that are perfectly normal to me to do every day.
Well, it's definitely an honor, and definitely a well-deserved honor as well. And of course, because of this endowment, it has, like you mentioned, given you the easier ability to do things such as edit this book, Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times, and it's going to allow you to edit more books and future books and more projects. So let's go ahead and go into that. What are some other projects that you have in the works?
Oh, well, I've got a lot in the works, but I can also tell you what I recently published. Like I said, I published the article on Annie Zachary Pike in the International Journal of Africana Studies. I've also published an article on women during the Elaine, Arkansas race massacre in 1919 in an edited collection by Guy Lancaster. And I thought it was important to do that because the stories have always focused on what happened between black and white men in 1919, and I always knew that women were there, women were sharecroppers, women were members of farming organizations, and so I thought those were stories that needed to be told. I also wrote a piece on white women and lynching, a white women's lynching organization in another book. So I've already published quite a few things, but other things that I'm interested in, well, right now I'm finishing up a book on black women's activism in rural Arkansas, and so that my goal, well, I'm going to send that back to the University of Arkansas Press by the end of the year.
Awesome.
So I can already have that done.
Now, we've talked most of this hour about your research and your writing, but let's talk about the teaching aspect of it, because while you are a prolific writer, but part of your charge is also to teach the next generation. And of course, you are a professor of history at Arkansas State University. One of the classes that you teach is African American history, in which you got in that position after Dr. C. Calvin Smith retired.
Yes.
And so you're only the second person to ever actually be in that position. So when you teach your students, how does that play into your mind, that knowing that you're continuing the legacy that Dr. Smith started?
Oh, it's important. It's incredibly important to me to represent his legacy well. And every time I see his wife, Miss Arlene, I tell her I'm always working to make sure I represent the legacy he left behind well. And she tells me I'm doing a good job. And as long as she continues to tell me that, then I'm cool. But I keep telling the stories, and one of the things I like to do, and let me also say this before I forget, Dr. Smith was on the committee that hired me 15 years ago. So that's pretty significant to me as well. But in my courses, I always tell my students, again, not to just focus on the history of black people in other places, but what happened here in Arkansas. And just as an example, the semester has only just begun, and we've been talking about the Freedmen's Bureau, which was established in 1865 after the Civil War. And I pull up a digital resource from the Freedmen's Bureau that focuses almost exclusively on the Freedmen's Bureau in Arkansas.
Oh, awesome.
So I always make it relevant to right where they are. And so we look at these digital resources. I think it's important to integrate technology into the classroom. And we look at, for example, the Freedmen's Bureau marriage records in Arkansas. And so they can see where black people are in the state, who's getting married to whom, where they're coming from. And it just really opens their eyes, because they always think of these things as events that happen elsewhere. And I always bring it back to Arkansas.
And that's very important. Going back into our Facebook Live feed, Shanita Marie Hicks gives love, and Amore Cherie also gives love. So
yes, hi,
definitely getting a lot of love on the Facebook Live feed.
Amore Cherie is my sister-in-law. Shanita Marie Hicks is a former student of mine. Noah Lane is a current student. Claudine Sanders James, we're on the Arkansas Humanities Council board together, and Dr. Brad Austin is a colleague and a friend of mine from way back at the Ohio State University. We went to graduate school together.
All righty. So as you see, a lot of people are showing Dr. Branch love. Now, another part of your duties as a professor is advising, and I know for you, advising goes much deeper than just, okay, take this class this semester. What do you try to do to help students, especially your minority students, navigate their time at Arkansas State University, to be that person, that voice to look out for them when they feel like they may not be looked out for?
I tell them, I tell students, regardless of whether they're majoring in history or not, if you need help, come find me. I tell everybody that if you need help, come find me. I'm not an intrusive person. I'm not going to get into your life or your business, but you know where I am if you need me. And sometimes it's just a matter of knowing that you're there for them to talk to you. That makes all the difference in the world. And for me, it's very important for me to show up at certain events on campus, particularly things like the first year convocation at the beginning of the school year, what have you, so that they know that there are faculty members on campus who look like them. And that's not to say that I don't help other students. I will help anybody who needs help. But many of these students are navigating an environment that is frightening for them because very few people look like them.
And some of these students, it may be the first one in their family to attend college.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just the advising is as simple as a word of encouragement, saying that you can do this, or you can do this, in this way, or simply, I believe in you, so do it.
And just looking at your personal Facebook page and what you post about some of your students, because you encouraged them, pushed them, motivated them, graduated. Some are going on to careers. Some are pursuing advanced degrees at prestigious institutions. So, there's proof that these students can accomplish these things. Shanquetta Cunningham, shout out to you.
She's one of those students. Who took a course with me when she was working on her master's degree, and she's told the story on KLEK about what I did to her papers, but she's running a successful grant writing business now.
Well, I wasn't going to get into how hard-nosed you could be and how some people say you don't take Dr. Branch class, you survive it, but since you brought that up,
yeah, we're in. Let's deal with that.
Okay, well, quickly, but I mean, some people say, oh, Dr. Branch, she's so hard, she assigns so much work. And of course, when you're young, obviously you're going to think that mentality. But when you get older, you do develop an appreciation, because you know that it does prepare you for life. Because once you do get out here, it doesn't get any easier.
No, it doesn't. And also, what younger people don't understand is, if I don't think you're capable, I don't bother.
Exactly. And I think, as they say, game recognized game. I think people who are driven tend to gravitate to others who are driven as well. Kelly Houston Jones says, what implications do you think the book, research related to the book, may have for public history in terms of whose story gets told?
I think that people will begin to recognize or begin to look for the stories that aren't commonly told. And so what I mean by that is, when we think about, for example, politics, we think certain people are involved in politics. Hopefully, reading this book, or maybe some of the things that I've written, will inspire people to think, okay, well, who are the voices we aren't hearing in those stories? And like I always tell my undergraduates, don't think about the stories we have heard. Ask questions about the stories we haven't heard. Don't assume that they aren't there. And also, I firmly believe that this kind of research is not something that should just be done by trained professional historians. Do the work. Everybody's a researcher, all right, in one form or another. So I think it has those kind of implications for public history, to bring greater awareness to the kind of work that we can all do, whether you have a PhD in history or not.
Absolutely. Shanquetta says, LOL, I just love you, and it is the truth. She will push you.
And now she's running a successful business.
And she says, amen, which I will agree to that.
Yes.
Kubila says, as a student now and being much more mature than I was as a freshman, I appreciate advisors and professors like you.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Even though I did not get the pleasure of taking Dr. Jones Branch class, I will echo that as well. I actually took African American history under Dr. Smith, so I can definitely echo what was mentioned earlier, that Dr. Branch is doing a fine job of keeping the legacy of Dr. Smith alive. So for those just tuning in, just kind of recap a little bit about the book, what they can expect from the book, and about the event coming up tomorrow.
Well, we will be talking about the book, the process of putting the book together. Hopefully some of the authors in the book will be there. And then if you have questions, please feel free to ask questions, and we will be signing copies of the book.
Alrighty. And of course, the book, and of course, let them know where the book is available if they want to get it.
Okay, well, the campus bookstore will be selling copies of the book, but you can order it from the University of Georgia Press. You can also order it from Amazon.com. All right, so those are the two places that immediately come to mind. So they're not difficult to purchase.
And let the listeners and the viewers know why they should read this book, because some people may think, "Oh, this is just a history textbook." But
well, it's not a history textbook. It's a collection of women who have done things in Arkansas history. Some who are well known, and others who are less well known. But what this demonstrates most profoundly, I think, is that there's a lot of this history out there, and this book, as in depth as it is, really only scratches the surface.
All right. S.L. Robinson says, "Can't wait to get my book signed by the great Dr. Jones Branch." Well, I got mine signed. In fact, I'm going to read what she says. "To Leganzi, the hardest working man in radio, I hope you enjoy reading the book, Cherisse Jones Branch." And appreciate you, Dr. Branch. So, once this becomes a collector's item, and I'm not going to sell it, but
don't sell it.
I'm going to keep it. But I'm like, see, I knew her. I worked with her. She actually volunteered on our station.
I thought that's what you were supposed to do. I didn't think I was doing anything extraordinary.
But you have done such. But by you doing those Black History moments, we say it over and over again. They really touch and move a lot of people. They're always the most popular thing on our listener survey, and people just love them. S.L. Robinson says, "As a woman of color in Arkansas, you inspire me to keep giving back to my community." Shanquetta says, "Man, the bookstore and then the library. I'm too big, LOL. Will there be copies at the event?"
Yes, ma'am. The campus bookstore will be selling copies at the event.
All right, so Shanquetta, there you have it. So you know what you need to do so that you can get your copy. We're going to go ahead and get into our final break on this Labor Day weekend. We are speaking with Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, talking about Arkansas women, their lives, and their times. One last comment from Kubila. She says, "As history has shown, individuals of all ages have made contributions to society. 1, are the stories of young individuals available? 2, do you see yourself doing research on the young women who have made stories in their time?" Kubila, we'll come back to that on the other side of the break. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. If you're desperate to get out of debt, debt settlement might seem like an easy way out. Here are some key questions you need to get answers to. Will this have a negative effect on my credit report? Settled debt will always have a negative impact on your credit report. When can I expect my first settlement? Your first settlement should be made well within the first 12 months of your program. If it takes any longer than that, it's an indication that your settlement is not being handled correctly. Can you tell me exactly how long this will take and exactly how much this will cost? Listen, debt settlement is not an exact science, and there are too many variables to come up with exact time frames and figures. Many companies will tell you anything to get you in the door. They should not make any attempt to provide exact information. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com. Starks Auto Plaza, your pre-owned superstore, is a longtime supporter of KLEK. 2829 Red Wolf Boulevard, Starks offers clean, reliable vehicles of all makes and models. Starks also offers no-hassle pricing with approved credit. At Starks, you're always family, and our motto is, we never say no. 870-203-9980. StarksAutoPlaza.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
Hello, I'm Officer Victoria Evans. I have always had a desire to help others in need and to be an example and role model to young women by encouraging them to never give up on their dreams. My dream was to become a police officer and to serve my community. In 2016, that dream became a reality, and it is the most rewarding experience of my life. Now I want to let you know about the same opportunity. The Jonesboro Police Department will conduct testing every month for patrol officers. Applications are available online at jonesboropolice.com or at the Police Department, 1001 South Caraway Road. The Jonesboro Police Department offers a competitive salary, health, and retirement benefits, top-of-the-line training, and most importantly, the chance to make a difference in the Jonesboro community. Join me in making Jonesboro a better place. The Jonesboro Police Department is an equal opportunity employer, and women and minorities are especially encouraged to apply. More information is available at 870-935-5657.
Check out Melvin Williams of the Williams Brothers every Sunday morning from 5 to 7 a.m. here on KLEK for the Melvin Williams Down Home Gospel Radio Show, playing the very best in quartet and inspirational gospel music that you'll love, as well as feature interviews with all of your favorite gospel artists. It's Melvin Williams Down Home Gospel Radio Show, Sundays from 5 to 7 a.m. on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch, talking about the book, Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. Before we went to break, Kabila had a question on our live feed. As history has shown, individuals of all ages have made contributions to society. Are the stories of young individuals available, and do you see yourself doing research on the young women who have made strides in their time?
Yes and yes. The stories are out there, and we just have to talk to people. I mean, it's really as simple as that. And it's important to talk to people, particularly women and young women, because far too often we downplay our contributions. So there's stories out there that may never be told because they don't think they're significant, and we often don't think to ask. And so it's just really a matter of having conversations with people. I fully intend to continue writing these stories, particularly about rural black women for the foreseeable future. But I encourage other people to get in on the game, because I'm just one person. I can't do it all. I'll do as much as I can, but there's plenty out there for all of us to do.
Absolutely. And of course, everybody can make a positive contribution
Absolutely.
to our collective history and to our collective story. So once again, kind of just give the viewers and the listeners an overview of the book.
Okay, so the book is Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times. It is either number 19 or 20 in the Southern Women, Their Lives and Times series with the University of Georgia Press. And the book came out on June 1st, 2018. And it's a collection of 15 essays about Arkansas women, or women with strong ties to Arkansas, from the earliest indigenous women all the way up through the 20th century. And so they're black women, they're indigenous women, they're white women, there are women who were opera singers, women. There's at least one essay by a colleague of mine from the University of Arkansas Fayetteville on an Arkansas woman who was a socialist, right? So these are really interesting stories that contribute to Arkansas history, but it also in significant ways disrupt narratives about who and what Arkansas women were thought to be.
And I think one thing that not just this book, but your research lets people know is that Arkansas made significant contributions
Absolutely.
to the life that we live today and to our current story. I mean, like I said earlier, when in school, we weren't taught a lot of these things. So a lot of people think that, well, Arkansas is just this place. Only thing that really came from Arkansas is Bill Clinton.
No,
and obviously it's much deeper than that.
So much more than that. Just to give you an example, one chapter in the book is on Dr. Mamie Catherine Phipps Clark, who was from Hot Springs, Arkansas, and she was the first African American woman to receive a PhD in psychology from Columbia University in New York City. And what a lot of people don't know is that her research is an important part of the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court case, because when Thurgood Marshall used the doll test, many of you have heard of this, where the children were asked to pick a black or white doll, and most of the children picked a white doll because they assumed it was better. That experiment came out of Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark's master's thesis.
So there you go. So in Arkansas,
there are all of these Arkansas connections, and as I said before, there's so many more stories that just didn't make it into this book.
And of course, that will definitely be something to look forward to for Arkansas Women, Their Lives and Times, Volume 2. All right, once again, tomorrow, 3 o'clock p.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. It's going to be the book signing. So once again, let them know what they can expect from that.
We will be talking about the book, the process of putting together an edited collection. We'll be signing the book. Books will be available for sale. And everybody I'm looking at on the Facebook feed right now, I expect to see you in the audience.
All righty. And of course, y'all will have refreshments. Right? People like food when they come out.
There will be refreshments, yes.
Okay, so now you're going to get books, you're going to get refreshments, and of course, most importantly, you're going to get history. So we want to definitely thank Dr. Cherisse Jones Branch for stopping by the studio today. And of course, you can always check out Dr. Branch every single day right here on KLEK 102.5 FM, as Dr. Branch is the host of the KLEK Black History Moment, and we're definitely so thankful that she volunteers her time to put out that information, because she actually puts work into that. She takes the time, she has to research these people, and write them out.
Yeah, I learn a lot I'm very, very grateful that the community likes it so much, but I learn a lot as well. And that's a big part of why I do it, because I continue to learn, and that's what I love to do.
And it's definitely appreciated. I can't tell you how many people said that they enjoyed them. S.L. Robinson says, enjoy the rest of your day, Dr. Branch.
Thank you so much. You do the same.
Eunice Denise Easton says, looking great, Dr. Jones Branch.
Thank you so very much.
And Marcia Smith Apaya gives 2 hand claps. All right. Well, we got 1 minute left. Today is Labor Day. What are you going to do the rest of the day, Dr. Branch?
Well, first I'm going back to the Dillard's additional 30% off sale.
We're not commercial. That's what we're saying.
I'm so sorry.
She's going to get her shopping on, everybody.
I'm going to get my shopping on, and then I'm going to go home and do some more researching and writing. Yes.
So, as you see, Dr. Branch is even working on Labor Day.
But it's a labor of love.
There you go. What they say, if you love what you do, you don't work a day.
You never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. So, once again, Dr. Branch, thank you for stopping by the studio today on this Labor Day. S.L. Robinson gives a bunch of laughy faces. So, who's barbecuing today? Somebody bring some food to the studio. 1411 Franklin Street. Bring me a plate. Who's cooking? If I'm not here, call my cell, 870-202-0838. Your boy Kato wants a plate. You guys have a great and blessed Labor Day. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEK LP Jonesboro.